Hey guys, so in this video I want to take you through how to create a profitable email automation for affiliate promotions. Now I was just building an email automation myself for my next promotion that I'm doing, so I thought I'd spend a few minutes and actually show you exactly how I put this together. So guys, in this video I'm going to take you through the funnel that I'm actually using. I'll show you the automation and give you an overview of the actual automation before I build it. We'll look at a few things that I need to do to set up my autoresponder, and then I'll actually show you live how I go ahead and build this automation. So guys, just before I start, my name is Richard Darby. This is the School of Nomads. If you haven't been over to this channel before and you want to understand how to build a business online, don't forget to hit the subscribe and notification bell, and I'll let you know whenever I produce new videos. And guys, if you're looking for a way to build a long-term sustainable business, go ahead and check out the link in the description below over to the School of Nomads, and I'm going to take you through the process in great detail, step by step. So let's take a quick look at the funnel overall. What I'm actually promoting in this particular promotion is a webinar, which is actually a workshop that showcases a coaching program. Now this coaching program is something I've been through myself, so I know it's a very, very good coaching program, and it's really the program that allowed me to start building a business online. So it's something that I'm quite passionate about, that I want to make sure others are actually aware of. So this is the promotion that I do when they open the coaching program up, which is around once every couple of months. So essentially what I have here is a number of emails that I send out previous to the actual webinar, and then I have some emails that I send out on the day of the webinar, and then there's some follow-up emails that are actually more manual if the webinar actually gets a replay. Now that all depends on whether they actually sell all the positions for the coaching program. So sometimes you do have that and sometimes you don't. So today I want to talk to you about the emails that I actually automate. And obviously this makes it a lot more easy for me. Rather than having to send individual emails out, I actually automate the whole process, and then I can just let the promotion actually take its course. So what I start doing is around 3 to 4 days before the actual webinar, I will start sending emails out. Now, I will send a one-off email out to start off the whole process. Once we get into the automation, I'll talk to you a little bit more about why I do that. And then I send out some automated emails. Now, if you look on here, all of my automated emails are the hype emails. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 hype emails that I'm actually going to send out, one per day before the actual webinar. Now, each of these emails, the whole idea of these emails is to get folks to go ahead and look at a hype page, which is a video of me talking about the benefits of the actual webinar, what people are actually going to learn on the webinar, and then some information around the actual course that they're going to be showcasing. Most of the information they get is actually from the video and not from my emails themselves. So I send out one email per day, and then the other thing I do is I also have some automation in there that allows me to send a repeat email to everybody who hasn't opened the first email. Now there could be lots and lots of different reasons why people don't open the first email. They could have noticed it while they're traveling to work, while they're with their kids, and then not got around to actually reading it. So it's always good to send a repeat email out so that you can catch their attention. This is what the automation is actually going to allow me to build. It'll allow me to obviously send these out in a certain sequence, and then it'll also allow me to send any people that haven't opened the email an actual repeat email so that they can go ahead and look at the information if they want to on those repeat emails. Now what this actually does on the pre-launch is they go to the hype video, and then there's links from the hype video page over to the registration page, and then the idea is that they register for the webinar and then they attend the webinar, and if they're interested in going on the coaching course, they actually go ahead and purchase. Now on the actual launch day, there is 2 more emails that I send out that are actually going straight to the registration page. So I don't usually bother going to the hype video at that stage, because these are kind of later on in the day of the actual webinar. So I want people to just go straight to the registration page so that it saves them time, and then again they go off to the webinar and then they purchase the program if they're interested in the coaching. So that's kind of the overall funnel, and I'm going to actually show you how I put this together. Now I jumped over to my autoresponder, which in my case is GetResponse, and this is actually what I'm going to be building in front of you. So essentially what it is a starting point with an email here, and there's also areas where I have to wait for a certain amount of time before I send the next message, and then I send repeat messages, and then obviously it follows through all of those different hype emails until we come to the end where were actually on the day of the webinar and they get the last email. So what I'm going to do is actually show you how I build this. Now, if you haven't got GetResponse, you would obviously do this in your own autoresponder. Now, if you haven't got an autoresponder yet and you're just interested in seeing how this is done, I'll leave a link to GetResponse below. Most autoresponders have some form of automation, and if you're doing any kind of affiliate promotions, especially if they're this type of 4 or 5 day promotion, I would definitely get an autoresponder that includes automation, because it makes your life a lot easier, and it also allows you to do lots of things around resending of emails, timing of emails, all sorts of tagging functionality that you can do for your various lists. So this is what I'm going to actually show you how to build on this video. So the first thing you need to do if you start any form of automation in your autoresponder is you need a list that you're going to go ahead and send those emails to. Now, my assumption is that you already have a list, but I'm going to take this right from the beginning just so you can see what's going on here. So the idea is that I would come into my list and I would actually create a list first. And this can just be my new promotion list. And obviously you would call that something you recognize. And that's going to be my list. So the next thing I'll need to do is have some emails in the system that are then going to be sent to all of the folks on this list. What I would normally do is I would come into drafts and I would draft all of the promotional emails that I'm going to send. What essentially is happening here is I am giving them a very short explanation of when the actual webinar is, what is the time and date, and then I'm going to link back to a hype page, which is this one. Now on this page, all I have is a very, very brief video, me talking about the actual coaching, what the coaching actually does, what benefits people can get from it, and then they can go ahead and hit this and they'll go ahead and sign up for the workshop, which is happening in this case on the 7th of September at the time this video is being recorded. So that's how the whole promotion is actually working. Obviously, once they come to this webinar, then they'll sit through the training, they have some bonuses that they get given, and then if they're interested, they go ahead and purchase the coaching. So that's the whole kind of funnel and how it's working. So each one of my emails looks a little bit like this one, just one link in each email with some basic information, because I'm doing most of my actual explanation in the video itself. So I've already built all of my emails in here. Now you'll see that each email has a 1 and then has a number and then a number in brackets. This is because each one of these emails has a resend. So when I have September promotion 1 there, bracket 1, you'll see a 1 bracket 2 and then 2 1 2 2 and so on until I get to 5 and it's 5 1 and 5 2. So each one of these has a resend. Now when I actually start building the automation, you'll see where that comes in handy, and I would always advise you to name your emails in this kind of way so you understand the sequence that those emails are actually going to go in, or it becomes a real problem when you start building up the automation. Okay, so the first thing is you get your list. The second thing is you want to have some emails that you've drafted for that particular list. So then in GetResponse, all I need to do is come over to automation, and then I will actually create a new workflow. So I want to create a workflow of this automation, and I want to build one from scratch. There are some other options in this, but this isn't really a GetResponse training course. It's more about the thinking behind the automation they actually do. Now, there's a number of options here. So I can name this. Again, I'm going to call this my great affiliate promotion automation. And then I need to decide how it actually starts. Now, on this particular one, I want it to start when I actually send a message. You can have these a number of ways. You could have something that starts when you subscribe to a list, when they click a certain link, when they open a message, is moved to a certain list, visits a certain landing page. So there's all sorts of different options here. And also there's some tagging options that you can also use. I don't tend to use a lot of these e-commerce ones, but again, if somebody's tagged in a certain way, when you're doing your automations, it can trigger a separate automation. So this is extremely powerful. Now in this case, I'm going to say when these folks are sent a message, I want this to start. So the very first thing up here is asking me what message they're going to be sent. So on the right hand side here, we have some basic conditions and then we have some basic actions. Now the basic conditions are things like whether they've subscribed, whether they've clicked a link, very similar to the ones we just saw, whether they visited a landing page, whether they actually opened a certain message. There's some basic conditions there that you can add into your automation. Then you've got some of these tagging ones again. You can tag people with certain details depending on what type of automation or what type of person they are on your list. You can tag them. And then you have these e-commerce ones again. And then you have some basic actions. Now these are things like sending people a message, copying people to a certain list, copying people over to a certain workflow. Lots of different actions there. So there is a difference between the basic conditions and the actual actions. So we're going to use a combination of these in our actual automation. So the first thing I want to do is tell the system exactly what message needs to be sent for me to actually kick this automation off. So the way that I do that in this case is just by clicking on it, and then on the right hand side you'll see me going through these various menus. Now because the menus might be slightly different for you, I'm not going to labor this too much, but the menus are basically different lists that I can pick off and tell it which emails that are in those particular lists that it needs to use in this automation. And I've got this opening email that I've already drafted that I'm actually going to use for the first email. Now that is an email that I've independently drafted outside of the automation ones, and basically it's an introductory email that I'm just going to send at a certain time, and then this triggers this whole automation. So the next thing I want to do is 1 day later I want my automation to start. So I need to tell the system I want to wait for 1 day. Look for my wait, and I basically just drag this in. Now this is already set to 1 day, but if I click on the properties I can actually change this to whatever I want. So I can wait for either a certain day, for a certain amount of days, for a certain day after this has actually been sent, or I have some different options here around different times of the day that I can actually send this. So it's pretty flexible, but I'm just going to be very simple here and just wait for 1 day. So again, I just drag this in, and that's how I build my automation, is by dragging these green links in, and this links each of these steps. So that's my wait for 1 day, and the next thing I want to do is send my first email. All I do is send a message. Now again, I link these up and I have to tell it which of these messages I want to send. So in my case I have an automated message I want to send, and it's going to be this one, which is 1:1. So the next thing I want to do is ask the system a question. I want to know whether the email has been opened, and I have a certain action then that I want to do depending on whether it has or it hasn't been opened. So simply I just bring this down here. There's a question there that says, has the email been opened? If it has, I do one thing, and if it hasn't, I do a different thing. It's just a very simple decision tree. So I want to obviously ask it, has this email been opened? I come over here, I find that specific email, and then I'm asking it, has this been opened? Now if it has been opened, again I'm going to come down and I'm going to wait for another day. So the green arrow obviously is yes, it's been opened. Now if it hasn't been opened, I actually want to resend a different message. So again, I'm going to say send a message here, link those two up, and in this one I'm actually going to send a different message. So I'm going to send 1:2, which is essentially the same message, but it's got a slightly different headline. And again, the reason I do this is people are on phones a lot these days, they're traveling to and from work, emails arrive at all different times of the day for folks, everybody's busy, so you always got to give yourself the best chance of actually catching somebody's attention, and the best way to do it is by resending emails. Now you don't do it over the top. I'm sure many people have had lots and lots of different emails of people that are repeats. You don't do it too much, but once after a certain amount of time is okay to do. So I just link this back. Again, if I look at the properties here, I can actually say for this one, if it hasn't been opened after a certain amount of time, I'll resend. Now I don't want that as 1 day, because I want these folks to come back into this part of the automation. I'm just going to say 5 hours. Totally up to you. You could have 6, 7, 12. It doesn't really matter, but it gives you that flexibility of resending an email. So again, I've waited for 1 day now. What do I want to do? I want to send another email. So I'm going to send my second email to my automation. And again, I'm going to tell it exactly what I want to send. And in this case, I do 2-1. And then I want to add, has this actually been opened? And obviously I want to know whether 2-1's been opened. So I come back here I'm going to go to 2-1, and then I've got the same decision box here that I need to go ahead and give options to. So again, I'm going to wait 1 day. If it hasn't been opened, I want to send another message, and this one is going to be 2-2, and then I'll make sure that this is set to 5 hours. So then what I'm going to do now is I'll repeat this process, so it'll save you a little bit of time, so you'd have to sit through me just adding the rest to this. Okay, so these are the 4 messages that I'm actually going to send pre-launch. Now I'll show you exactly what this looks like again. Here we are on the actual funnel again, and what I've done is I've actually put the automation in for 1, 2, 3, 4 messages, and then obviously the unopens here, I've added the automation for that. So that's the work that I've just done now. Now I'm just going to show you how I actually put these 2 in, because it's slightly different. I want the next 2 to be sent out on the day of the actual webinar. Now this is no different from whether you have an affiliate promotion or a launch. You want those last 2 emails really to be sent out as close to or on the actual timing of the product launch. So just before a product launches or a webinar starts, you want at least 1 email hitting people's inboxes to say, hey, go and grab this now, or make sure you attend this webinar. So I want it at a very specific time. So this time when I bring across the wait field, I'm going to be a little bit more specific about when I want this to actually send. So I'm going to actually tell it I want this to be at a very specific time. So wait until a specific day and time. In this case, I want this to be on the actual date of the webinar, which is the 7th. And then I know this is British Standard Time on here. I'm actually going to say I want the first one to be sent at around about 1 o'clock my time. A little bit tricky with time zones. You just need to figure out exactly what time zone you're in, and your autoresponder might be slightly different, but essentially that's the first time I want one of these emails to go out. So that's my next wait time, and then obviously I need to send an email. I tell it what email it's going to be sent. Now there is no resend on this one. And then I do the same thing again. I come over here and I actually get another wait, and I'll send this out a little bit later in the day. And let's say I send that out at 7:30 my time. It's 4 p.m. Eastern, so that should catch the folks about 3:30 Eastern. So again, I tell it to send 1 more email. It's 5.2, and then that's how my automation ends. So in this case, I want to actually tag people to actually finish off the automation. Now I could do it a number of ways. I can move these folks over to a different list. I can move these folks over to a totally different workflow. There's lots of different ways I can finish this automation, but in this case, I'll just tag them with something. So we just bring a tag over, then we have to name this tag. Click on it, assign a tag. I'm going to create a new one. I'm just going to call this my cool automation tag. So what will happen is anybody with that cool automation tag, I'll know has been through this promotion before. So if I promote something of this type again, I can maybe change the messaging slightly or do something slightly different, but it allows me to see who's been through the automations before. So this is the full automation. Now what I've done here is I have my initial email that I've sent out. I'm going to wait for 1 day. Then I have my ATB September 1 bracket 1 email go out. Then if it's opened, I just go ahead and wait for another day. If it's not open, I send out my promotion 1 bracket 2 email. Then I repeat that and I send out my second email in the promotion. And if it's not been opened, I send out the repeat version of that email. Again, wait for 1 day. Send out the third email in the promotion. And again, if it's not been opened, I send out 3 bracket 2. Come back and wait for 1 day. And then send out the fourth email in that automation. If it hasn't been opened, I go ahead and send out 4-2, and look there, you've always got to check these automations to make sure everything is flowing correctly. And then you have a wait there for the actual day of the webinar, in this case here. I send out one email, which is 5-1, wait for a few hours, and I send out a second email. I then tag them with this tag. Now, if you want to see how I actually did this previously and the kind of success I had, I will leave a couple of links in the description below over to a number of videos I did on the last time I actually ran this promotion, and it'll show you how effective these types of promotions are to actually get folks interested in whatever product or service you actually want to go ahead and promote. So if you haven't got something like this in your autoresponder, then I do advise that you get something that allows you to do automation, because there's lots more here I could go through with you, but this is just a very, very simple affiliate promotion that you could do very, very quickly, and it makes the whole thing a lot easier. And also you can clone this promotion multiple times, and all you need to do is change the emails that are actually going to go through the promotion. So once you've done it once, you can do it many, many times. So guys, just a quick recap. Again, we built these 4 emails here, 1, 2, 3, 4 with the unopened, and then you saw me do the last 2 here, which are pointing people towards the registration page over to the webinar, and then if they do like the course, they go ahead and purchase it. So guys, I hope that brought some value to you. I do advise that you use automation in your own marketing. My name is Richard Darby. This is the School of Nomads. If you haven't been over to the channel before and you're interested to learn how to build a business online, and especially interested in tutorials just like this one that kind of show you behind the scenes exactly what we have to do every day to set up our promotions, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell, and I'll let you know whenever I release new videos. And guys, if you do want to learn how to build a long-term sustainable business online, go ahead and check out the link in the description below over to the School of Nomads, and I'll take you through the whole process step by step. Until next time guys, take care.